Good afternoon, folks. It's your good old friend here, Colby Evans, back with another episode of the ARCA Racing Podcast. While we did not have full action of main racing this weekend, we had our good old boys at the West Series get it on at the Las Vegas Bullring. We got a great show for you guys today. We're going to talk about the Las Vegas Bullring West race and ARCA's version of Throwback Weekend at the good old Salem Speedway. I'm, of course, Colby Evans at Start and Park Car, where if you want to find any about history about start and park cars, low-budget teams, and any of all that fun stuff, go to that account. You guys will trust me, you'll love it. Follow my buddy Brad Smith. Follow the main ARCA account. All things ARCA right here on this podcast. So let's get right into it. The Star Nursery 150 at the Las Vegas Bullring. Personally, like me and a lot of other people agree, the Truck Series, while the Truck Series races are good at Las Vegas, a race on the Bullring would not only draw a great crowd, it would be a great old-fashioned short track race. But I do agree the truck races at Las Vegas have been very good over the years, especially in the last 5. But we even had a strong entry list. For a standalone West race, we had 23 cars, which for the West Series alone is a great field. It was pretty much your normal entry list. Not many other new entries. We had Dean Thompson returning after his battle with health issues. I believe it was COVID or COVID-related symptoms. We had an extra entry from Bill McNally's team, and we also had some Kart Idaho teams and Josh Finopoulos returning as well. It kind of all worked together for a decent-sized entry list, which included 5 women, the biggest field of women I think that's ever been in a NASCAR-sanctioned event. I want to say I'm correct, but I could be wrong. But 5 women were in this race. It was the one of, I hope I don't botch her name, Jolyn Wilkson. Hopefully I didn't botch her name. The 19 of Amber Balkan, 17 of Amber Slagle, the 88 of Bridgette Burgess, and the 77 of Mariah Baudrial. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. But they were in the race this weekend. Unfortunately, they didn't really do all that good. And it was kind of sad because I was really hoping that all of them, it's not like they were in bad cars either. It's just, unfortunately, bad luck. And I think rookie and inexperience didn't really help anything. We did have a start and park in the race. It's kind of in the common for the West season this year. Paul Pedroncelli in the 31 only ran 3 laps. And it makes sense. You know, it's just a car to help fund the 33 team. Heck, it might have been the same car that ran the full race at Portland. I don't know. But Paul's been kind of doing the start and parks to help get the extra $1,000 for the 33 car, which runs the whole distance. The 21 this weekend was actually, I believe it was a new car for the team. It was bright green. It was definitely one of the more interesting race cars on track. I guarantee you, if you go look at my buddy Brock Beard's Twitter, if you look at his timeline from the ARCA race weekend at Las Vegas, you can see a big picture of that car. And trust me, there's no way you could not miss that car out on track. I think it looked kind of cool. It had a little bit of a GMS type number, and it was an old green Toyota. Although I don't know the history of it, I wish I did. Either way, it was great to see Josh Finopoulos back. Still going. Low budget, but still going nonetheless. Starting last on the field, obviously, what would have been Paul Pedroncelli. Josh Finopoulos, for some reason, did start last. We had some newbies in the race this weekend, like I said. I believe this was Jolyn's first race in the main ARCA series. I could be wrong about that. I want to say I'm correct by that because I know she's been running. Nope, this is actually her second. My troubles there. She ran at Colorado in the 19. But she's been mostly running the BMR Drivers Academy. I don't believe she's won yet, but she's definitely come close. Amber Balkan, who's also been running majority of the season in the Drivers Academy, she was back in the 19 for, I believe, her second or third start of the season. Amber Slagle was back in the 17. This was not a David Gillen entry, even though it was listed under him. This was actually from MMI Racing and the Bruce Cook team, who are kind of in a conjoined effort. Needless to say, the race actually itself got off to a hitch in the first 10 feet. Poor Amber Slagle on the very first turn. A lot of people, there was no replay of it. They didn't show a replay of it. But poor Amber Slagle got, I think, turned in the wall on the very first lap, I believe by Amber Balkan. And both of their cars were pretty much destroyed in the first 10 feet of the race. But they did not throw a caution in this race. A lot of the times in this race, they did not throw a caution for stuff I felt like should have been won. And unfortunately, although Amber's team did get the car repaired, she fell out with radiator issues, which more than likely was linked to that race. She did have a teammate in the race, although it wasn't listed under the same owner. MMI and Bruce Cook kind of operate out of the same shop, if I'm correct, judging by pictures I've seen. Christian Rose was making his debut, and he did a good job finishing top 10. Eric Nascimento, kind of a little fun tidbit there. If you saw a picture of the 4 car, it was actually an old Velocity racing car from last season with current truck driver for GMS, Jack Wood. It was Jack Wood's Velocity racing team. But if you saw pictures of the 4 car, it had the same white layout with the black stripe down the middle of the car. And it was an old Velocity racing car. So those are the kind of tidbits I always like to find about the ARCA series. Cars that are passed down to each other. It's always a cool statistic that I feel like you don't see that much in Xfinity anymore, or you don't hear about it as much. But yet in ARCA, you hear about it almost every single week. We had 2 CART Idaho cars, which was kind of shocking. Stafford Smith was once again in the 38. It was good to see him. We had Jerry Pitts running 2 cars, the 5 of Kyle Keller and the 7 of Takuma Koga. It was good to see them. And good old Bobby Hillis. I was worried that Bobby would do a start and park, mainly because, you know, it's short tracks. He can get kind of racy. But despite having little to no budget, Bobby has ran full races this season. I really don't know how, but nonetheless, it's great to see that 27 not starting parking, but running full races and giving it everything he has despite having literally no budget. And he'll tell you that himself. Like I said, our first driver out was the 31 of Paul Pedroncelli. Already explained it earlier. Kind of a help fund effort. So that car really just kind of, I don't even think it was even set up for the race. I think it was 6 seconds off in practice. The 2 Ambers were out next with their own crash damage and radiator issues. Like I said, it was not a good night for the women. Not for lack of trying, lack of bad luck too. Bridgette Burgess had gotten spun around by the 27. Some people, it was only saw it once on TV, but a lot of people said that it was actually multiple times that the 27 had gotten into the 88. I don't believe that because I didn't see it, but a lot of people at the track actually say that they had been kind of battling each other for a couple of times. And unfortunately, Bridgette, after that caution on lap 33 where they spun out together, Bridgette pulled off the track. I didn't see any damage to the car, and I haven't seen any pictures of it. So I'm not sure if there was actually any damage or if it was just maybe they ran out of tires or just decided to park the car anyway. Water break. But it's kind of been a rough season. I still believe that Burgess Racing is only on 1 car, and it's kind of hard to do the whole season on 1 car when you have to go to road courses and short tracks and a little bit bigger tracks. It's kind of hard to do that, and I feel like by the end of this season, it's really sadly starting to catch up with them. I hope they can survive the next 2 races cleanly, but unfortunately, you don't know what's going to happen in those West races. Next driver out was the 08 of John Wood. He was just kind of there, never really made many never really was in contention, just kind of running his own race. John's been around a long time. If you guys have followed the West scene back to the Can-Am days, kind of doing what he can, but unfortunately radiator issues put him out after about 70 laps. We had more cautions on the track. All the women were just having issues. And unfortunately, on the accident at lap 108 with the 16 and the 27, we'll get into the 16 in a second, but the 77 had nowhere to go. And I'm not sure actually who she ran into the back of, but needless to say, the whole term ARCA braked right into the back of someone and destroyed the front end of her car. And at the point of that, all 5 women were off track. The one of Jolynn actually did make it back out, despite her hood coming up. If you watch the broadcast, her hood came up. She could barely see. Came back in, ripped it off. She finished the race. But out of the 5 women in the field of 23 cars, the highest one finished 17th. Not exactly the best look, although I don't put all the blame on them. I think it was just a lot of bad luck, inexperience. I think if we visited the same thing a year down the line, where these women had another year of experience under their belts, I think they could contend for top 10s and top 15s. But it's definitely was kind of the laughing moment of the race, for sure. But we had 17 of our 23 cars finish. I felt bad for 51 of Dean Thompson. He was running very strong. I believe he was running in the top 5. When unfortunately he got spun, I don't remember a caution coming out. Like I said, that was kind of the weird part. Cautions at the weirdest time would not fly in this race, and unfortunately for the 51, despite returning a disappointing finish and sealing his fate in the championship, especially after missing 2 races, I believe that Thompson, he's still 11th in points, and he's 80 points behind Bobby Hillis. So the likelihood of him catching Bobby is highly unlikely. Sorry, guys, I got a itchy eye there. Needless to say, though, the biggest point of the race, despite Taylor Gray just running away with it and Jake Drew kind of hunting him down, like back at Portland, the 16. Now, it was mentioned in the broadcast by Charles, 16 had been running slow a lot. And then they never pitted. I don't believe they ever pitted. Did they? Did they? No, I don't remember them pitting. He went 4 laps down, but that was just because he was going so slow for a period of about 10 laps. I pointed it to possible electrical or ignition issues, but I've never seen the real cause actually explained. I even went to Jesse Love's Twitter, and I couldn't really find an explanation. I wonder if there is an update by now. But unfortunately, it did actually hurt. So it actually was a tire issue. It was not an electrical issue. It was a tire issue. I just rechecked it, and he finally updated his Twitter. It was a tire issue on the right front. And just when I thought that the championship was sealed, that cut his point lead to now 7. And it actually also brings Cole Moore into this championship battle as well, because now we have the top 5 separated by just 15 points with 2 races to go. And with how crazy the ARCA West Series is, I think all heck's going to break loose. And we could possibly someone you would normally expect to win, probably win a race, and possibly win a championship. Now, of course, like everyone, the sentimental vote that I want to see win this championship is PJ Pedroncelli, the family-owned team who's competing against these big guys and doing a great job. That's my pick. I want to see the good family-owned story like we saw last year with Brent Holmes beating the powerhouse of Venredi. That is the stuff that I like to see, and that's why I follow ARCA so much, because you see that all the time. But yeah, it was a action-filled race. Championship drama, always great to see. Some great runs by the low-budget teams. Takuma Koga getting another top 10 finish. Josh Finopoulos, despite being slow and getting a little bit of damage all night, limped it around to only 1 lap down and 9th place finish. Nascimento, driving the old Velocity car, finished 11th. Our last runner was Jolynn, finishing 23 laps down. Todd Souza, who's just had an unfortunate second half of the season, which has really taken him out of the title hunt, finished 16th. Old Bobby Hillis finished 15th. 6 laps down. I believe he actually did run the whole race on the same set of tires. I could be wrong about that, but I believe that Bobby's tried to run the whole race on one set of tires the entire race, which I wouldn't blame him. With tire prices, I'd probably do the same thing. I wish he would bring back the 0. I do wonder why Bobby does run the number 27, because I always loved the 0 car because it had the little less than symbol on it, and less than 0 because that was his budget, less than 0. So that's why we all fell in love with Bobby Hillis in the first place. But the 27, the neon orange, is a better look. I think they had the neon orange car. I'm not quite sure. Because I know he has maybe one or two cars, if I'm correct. Either way, it was good to see. Taylor Gray wins again. Dominating effort this time. And watching the broadcast, I really didn't see much of aggression out of him. I didn't see him junk anyone. Taylor Gray just kind of pulled away from the field and never looked back. He led 123, right? 123? Yeah, 123 of the 150 laps, and he never looked back. Dominated and won the race cleanly, if by my calculations. And, of course, they go online and you see all the comments of people not really liking Taylor Gray. This kid, by the time he gets to full-time trucks, I hope he can clean up his driving style a little more and not get as much hate thrown at him, because when he's not racing like a knucklehead, he's actually a very solid driver. If he could just learn not to be as aggressive, he could actually be a very solid driver in the main ARCA series, where he probably will be most of the season next year, because he'll be he's 16 right now, if I'm right. Yeah, 16. And he'll be 17 next year. So I would expect him to run the majority of the season in ARCA, which probably the bigger tracks would be filled in by his brother, Tanner. And then we could eventually see in 2023, Taylor running full-time at age 18. But anyway, I thought it was a good race. Very late at night. Not many people were really up for it, because the race started at 10:30 in the Midwest. I think 11:30 on the East Coast. But it was a good race. I call it a good race. I call it definitely better than the dang Cup race we saw. Definitely call it a better race than the Cup race. Good old short track race. Truck Series needs to come here. Unfortunately, the 2022 schedules, which were released today, we'll go over some ARCA races on 2022 next year later in the show, but the 2022 truck schedules did not include the Las Vegas Bullring, which is a shame, because I think this track would be way better suited for the Truck Series rather than the main oval. Transferring in here, we got some sad news to report before we get to Salem. We got some sad news to report today. If you guys have been following ARCA for any of the last, 10, 15 years, you would see the familiar 77 car. And then the 22 and other numbers in the past. The 72, which was even used by future current Cup star Chase Briscoe. Briggs Cunningham for Cunningham Racing, and Kerry Schrader, I think that's how you pronounced his last name. Briggs died, unfortunately, today at the age of 89. I don't know what the cause was. I hope it was just natural causes, because he lived a long life. He was a good man. But unfortunately, we lost a longtime ARCA owner, so thoughts and prayers are with the Cunningham family. Briggs had actually sold the team at the end of 2017 to his longtime crew chief, Chad Bryant, who then sold his team to, I believe, he merged it with kind of GMS. Cunningham was always a good team. They ran Penske fonts, which was always cool. They ran Dodges for a long time before switching to Fords. They brought in a lot of great stars from their team, including Ryan Blaney, Parker Kligerman, Chase Briscoe, Dalton Sargent, I believe, drove for the team as well. Shane Lee drove for the team. Let's see, who else drove for Cunningham that you guys might know? Ugh, man, I can't think off the top of my head. But Cunningham definitely had some memorable people drive for them. And RIP and Godspeed to Briggs Cunningham. You will never be forgotten by the ARCA world. And I hope that someone does a throwback to them this weekend, commemorating the life of Briggs. Or I hope the 21 team, they're entered this weekend for GMS. I hope Cody Swanson and that team, they do a throwback. It'd be very nice to see someone pay tribute to the fallen ARCA owner of Briggs Cunningham. So that's some unfortunate, sad news to report. But I wanted to include that on the show, even though that happened just this morning. We got the news. So that's kind of the dimmer part of the show, but I wanted to include it in here because Briggs deserves it for his 20 years in ARCA ownership. Thank you, Briggs. And I know you're up there, and we miss you. We greatly, greatly miss you. Moving on to Salem, as I just mentioned in that last thing, it is Throwback Weekend. It is the version of Darlington for ARCA this weekend. Salem is basically NASCAR's Darlington. Salem has been with ARCA, I think, since the debut year. Salem is one of the most underrated tracks on the circuit for racing. It is fast, it is beat up, and if you screw up one bit, like just at Darlington, if you miss your line by one bit, bam, right into the wall. One reason why I like Salem so much, and Winchester. But ARCA's taken it pretty much since about 2017, 16, 17, when NASCAR really started to do this throwback era. ARCA decided to do the same thing, and it was a great idea. Years and very creative throwbacks. Even these ARCA teams would come up with very creative throwbacks to run in their races. Now, again, not the biggest entry list ever. Only 18 cars. The only starting parks I could possibly see would actually be just Brad. I could see Brad maybe trying to run the full race, but an important tidbit here is that Brad has never run his red 48 Chevrolet at Salem before. Salem did not participate in the 2020 ARCA schedule due to COVID. So the last time ARCA was at Salem was actually 2019. And in that race, Brad ran the old white Ford because back then steel bodies were still allowed on the short tracks, the short tracks. So, and with it being Brad's only car right now, Brad might try to run a lot of laps, but I don't see him running the whole race. Mainly trying to save the car for Kansas, where we're trying to get enough money to run sticker tires. Hope you guys donate. Leave a link down in the description. Please donate to Brad's Tire Fund. But if there's one starting park I could see for this race, it is Brad. Just playing it safe, But you never know. He could probably end up running the full race. We do have the 06 Peterson entry, run under A.J. Moyer. Will be a full race effort. A.J. ran the full race at Toledo, so expect him to run it again. Some surprises on the list. Ken Schrader. Yes, if you guys didn't hear it, Ken Schrader will be running ARCA again for Andy Hillenberg in the 12 this time. This is probably going to be one of Andy's best cars they're going to give Kenny, and I hope Kenny can get up there and get a good top 10 finish. Kenny really hasn't been running that many ARCA races lately. Did a great job back at DuQuoin, finishing third, and I hope he can get a top 10 this Sunday. I believe this Sunday's one of the races. We have both of the Rev Racing entries this weekend, as Raja Karuth is actually planned to run this race and the season finale at Kansas. Mason Mingus returns to the 11. Willie Mullins will be in the 01, but I do expect that this is actually Willie's own Ford with just a simple 01 on it. It's a lot easier, I guess you could say, because Andy gets the owner points and Willie gets to run, and it kind of saves both of them money in some way, shape, or form. And then we got Ed Pompa. Ed Pompa, for some reason, is just the king of ARCA throwbacks, and it's the only one that's been announced right now. I think it was 2017 they ran. I don't remember, but look it up. Just look up Ed Pompa throwback, and you will just find the most beautiful cars for some reason. And everyone remembers the chrome Darrell Waltrip throwback of 2019, one of my favorite Andy Hillenberg cars that's ever hit the track, and voted best throwback and arguably best ARCA paint scheme of 2019, without a shadow of a doubt. But it was released on the ARCA website. They are running a Frank Kimmel Menards Ansel throwback from, I believe, from about 2010 to about 2013. A great looking car. Great to see the neon yellow back. And Menards is on the car, so it looks like Menards is even sponsoring the effort. Once again, Ed Pompa and Fast Track Racing nailed it. Absolutely nailed it with the throwback. Hopefully we can see some more drivers do throwbacks. I would love to see Ty Gibbs and Joe Gibbs Racing do a throwback as well. I mean, if anything, I think what would be a good idea for good idea for Gibbs to do a throwback would maybe do an MBNA Coy Gibbs throwback. Since Coy owns the team, I think it'd be kind of cool if we do an MBNA throwback from Coy's days of driving. For Raja Karuth, honestly, my expectation is a top 5 finish. I would love to see how he does. For Sanchez, though, a big weekend for Sanchez. The 46 is entered, but not with Thad Moffitt. Canadian from Quebec, Canada, it was announced that I'm going to butcher this name real bad, but Jean-Philippe Bergeron, I think that's how you pronounce it correctly, will be driving the 46 this weekend, and will be driving at Kansas and the ARCA West finale at Phoenix. Now, he will not be driving the 46 at Kansas. More than likely will be in the 17, as Thad will be in the 46. But with this race, Sanchez will move up to third in the championship. So definitely a big get for Rev Racing, as Sanchez will then be pushed to third in the championship. And no matter how many cars show up to Kansas, Thad will not catch him in the title hunt. So a big opportunity weekend for Rev Racing and Nick Sanchez to solidify themselves into third place in the championship. And then, of course, your usual entries. The 15 will be Jesse Love again. Cody Swanson, like I said. No Jack Wood for some reason, and no Daniel Dye. Cody Swanson, who, if you guys don't remember him, he raced the 22 car. Kind of a reunion effort because he did race the 22 for Chad Bryant at Iowa last year. So it is a little bit of a reunion. And like I said earlier, I know it's on short notice, but if they could somehow do a tribute to Briggs Cunningham with this 21 car, I would absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Gracie Trotter returns to the 25. I believe this is her last race. And the 25, if I'm correct. Zachary Tinkle returns to the 27 again. Landon Lewis, who dominated and won DuQuoin, is back this weekend with Mark Redday, although this time it is a Ford, and he is running the number 30, Redday's main number. We got Brad, of course, and JP. Then we got Will Kimmel. Now, Will, I don't believe, is running one of his normal Fords. He's actually running a white Toyota. I don't know if this is a Venerini car or not, but judging by what Will's been posting on his Facebook, this might be one of his best cars they've had in a long time. And I've wanted Will to win one of these races for quite a while. So if Will can run competitive on Sunday, it would be very happy to see. And if he could by some chance win this race, I'd be the happiest dog in the house seeing Will Kimmel finally get a dang win. Like I said, only an 18-car entry list. Likelihood is just one start and park. Salem doesn't usually need a huge field to put on a good show. I think, as always, it's going to put on a good show. The race itself will be on actually Saturday, not Sunday. Got my date up. Duh. Saturday, October 2nd at 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern. Believe it, this one will be on MAV TV, as the main one will be on FS1 at Kansas. But I highly recommend you guys check this race. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Throwback weekend. We might get some legends out there. If you're in the Salem area and you're not doing anything, go out there and watch some good old ARCA racing. Definitely will be very, very entertaining. And the question is that, can Heim close in on Gibbs? Last couple of races, the gap's really extended. It's now up to 26 points. And with just 18 cars here, Heim's going to have to get desperate. And we know how desperate he can get. Will they stoop to that level? We'll find out. Sanchez will move up to third in the championship, only being 1 point behind Thad. Brad is pretty much locked into fifth. DL is still in sixth. Drew Dollar's in seventh. Taylor Gray's in eighth. Kyle Sieg is in ninth. And Jesse Love is 10th in points. Those points really won't change as they have a huge gap over 11th. But obviously, you might see some minor points changes. in this race and at Kansas, which right now we are looking with the addition of JP. Right now, my entry list that I have made for Kansas has over 25 cars, which would be absolutely amazing to see, as the last 4 fields for ARCA at Kansas, 2019 fall, 22. 2020, 18 and 18. And spring Kansas of this year, 20. We could be looking at 5 more cars, which honestly is all we need. ARCA has a great package for Kansas. And if we could maybe get like 25 to 30, it would be just so much better than watching Ty Gibbs just run away with it. Do I think he'll run away with it again at Kansas? Yes and no. Do I think he'll run away with it this weekend? Maybe, if Venery doesn't wreck him again, but either way, it'll be an entertaining race. I'll be definitely watching, tracking online with the race with you guys. Hopefully, you guys will tune in with me. We are at $1,240 for Brad's tire money. I said he would probably start and park at Salem. That's mainly just to save the car. We only got 1 car right now, but we got 2 more back at the shop, 2 Fords that we're trying to get ready. We're only $760 away from that set of stickers, guys. I cannot keep asking you enough, but thanking you enough. To everyone who's already donated, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And to anyone who hasn't donated yet, $1, $5, $20, whatever you want. Your name will be put on the car personally by me. I cannot thank you guys enough for giving my team a chance to run on stickers. I don't remember the last time Brad has ever ran on stickers. I don't think Brad even remembers the last time he ever ran on stickers. And I just think it would allow us to be more competitive and have a better chance at running the whole distance, not having to risk a tire blowing out, knowing the fact that we got good tires on the car. We have some 2022 dates announced. Well, this is kind of the final topic of the show. With the 2022 truck and Xfinity schedules coming out, it also added a couple of ARCA dates along with that. Now, it's kind of the usual races that everyone would come to expect. Michigan, Talladega, Daytona, tracks like that. We also got Phoenix is confirmed again as the ARCA West finale, and Dover will be run under ARCA East. So, as usual, the kind of races that you would expect to be announced. Expect an ARCA schedule around probably December to January. That's kind of when ARCA does their schedule. That's what they've done about the last couple years. Hopefully, we get kind of the same tracks. I hope Iowa's still there. Now that we have IndyCar back at Iowa, hopefully ARCA can still stay there. And I will never stop saying again, bring the West Series to Iowa. Let's just have a combination race. We could have probably 40 cars for that race. I think it'd be one heck of a show. Honestly, to God do. So hopefully when those schedules come out, we'll finally get that back. But stick with the ARCA series, man. Don't give up on it just yet like I have. Tune into the race this Saturday. And definitely tune into the race at Kansas, which I will be covering for you guys as a crew member of Brad Smith Motorsports. Follow me at Start and Park Car. Follow Brad Smith. Follow ARCA Racing. Follow the Reese's Sweet Move of the race. I have been Colby Evans. Thank you guys again for enjoying another episode of the ARCA Racing Podcast. In the future, I'm trying to get some guests on after the season may end. You never might know who might pop up on the show. And tomorrow, before I go, I'm going to do a quick shout out to tomorrow. We're introducing my very first episode of this week in racing history. And trust me, I picked a great week to start out with. We have multiple stories to cover. I'm not going to get into them right now, but I'm just going to say tomorrow, tune in. We will be debuting my new sideshow to the podcast on the ARCA Racing podcast channel. And I love you guys. Like and subscribe. Tune in tomorrow for my new episode. And you guys have a good rest of your day. And I will see you next Wednesday. Bye.